Well, welcome to Grant Me Success. This is our free community online grant writing workshop. We are going to run through a lot of information today, you guys, in the very short period of time that we have, so that I can share with you guys some amazing information. Just a little bit about myself before we get started. My name is Janise Wiggins. I am the owner and principal grant writer for Grant Me Success. I am a licensed social worker by education. I'm licensed here in the state of Nevada and have been a licensed social worker for like the past 20, my goodness, 25 years, 25 years. Wow, that goes really, really fast. I have been a federal grant reviewer for the past 23 years. And what a grant reviewer is, in case some of you don't know, is that when the federal government puts out grant solicitations or opportunity announcements, then they work with outside consultants that are, some of them are government employees, but many of us are not government employees. And we help the government to read, score, and provide comments back to organizations that have applied for federal grant opportunities. So I've reviewed for various federal organizations such as the Centers for Disease Control, the Health Resources and Services Administration, for HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Unit. I have reviewed child care grants through the Office of Head Start. I reviewed grants for SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So a wide variety of organizations I've reviewed grants for. I've worked for several government agencies here in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. In case we have anyone that's tuning in from out of state, I think we have a couple of people that are here from another state. And I've worked for a couple of different state organizations as well. Before starting my company, I was the governor's consumer health advocate for the state of Nevada. And I started my company in 2017. And this presentation that you guys are seeing right now really does need to be updated because it says that I've worked with over 1,000 clients. I am sure that that is more like 1,500 clients now, and that I've helped my clients get over $8 million in grants. That number is now over $20 million in grants. And just recently, we helped one of our clients. This is an old presentation, and so when I had done this, it says just yesterday we received information about a client who won a $100,000 grant. But you guys don't worry, because guess what? We're still helping people to win grants. And if you follow us on social media, you should do that right now. If you're on Instagram, go to Grant Me Success, because you will see that within the past couple of days, we just posted that we helped another one of our clients get access to a $20,000 grant from the WIN Foundation here in Las Vegas. And so we are still helping our clients to be able to get access to various grants. We're very excited about what we do. We help both nonprofit and small business and government clients as well to be able to learn about grants and help them to search for appropriate grant opportunities, to prepare for the grants, and then submit for grants. So if you guys are interested in anything like that, then you guys are in the right place, okay? So what I want to target today is it hasn't always been that way. As much success as we have had in helping our clients get access to grants, it hasn't always been like that. And we haven't had success with 100% of our clients. And I'm wondering if some of you guys have ever felt this way. If you have ever wanted to start with a grant journey, but you just didn't know how to get started, if you were confused about how to find grants, yeah, I see someone in the chat saying they're in that place right now. I feel you. I feel you. I wonder if you have ever missed application deadlines because you just didn't have all of the information. If that was you, put one in the chat for me. Put one in the chat if you've ever missed a grant application deadline because maybe you just didn't know that that grant was coming up. Maybe you didn't have the information prepared for it. And so it just passed you right on by. Yeah, yeah, I see some ones in the chat. And then perhaps your application was denied. Maybe you applied for a grant, but it was denied and you didn't understand the reason why. Somebody put a 2 in the chat if you've ever been in that situation where you've actually applied for a grant opportunity and then maybe you got information that it was denied and you didn't understand the reason why. Or maybe you got some feedback and you don't quite know how to address the feedback that you received. Well, we're going to go through some of those tips tonight that can help you in those areas. Okay. You're not alone. So this is why these reasons are why I'm passionate about helping not just nonprofit leaders, but also small businesses to stop missing out on this multi-trillion-dollar funding industry. And I say multi-trillion-dollar grant funding industry because just last year, the United States government, federal government, gave out $1.3 trillion in grants. Did you guys hear that number? Put 1.3 in the chat if you heard me say that federal government grants were a total of $1.3 trillion last year. So that's not including any of the state grants that were given out. That doesn't include county grants given out. That doesn't include city grants, foundation grants, right? So if all of those other entities also gave out millions and billions, I'm sure it totaled up to more trillions of dollars of grants that were given out. And so my mission is to help you all to get access to this funding that's out there. And what I have found is that a lot of people that I come across are experiencing the same pain, struggle, or hassle that some of my clients have gone through. And I'm here to help you guys to stop going through that. Okay. So let's just talk about some of the mistakes, specifically some mistakes that keep not only nonprofits, but small businesses stuck. You know, why? What is the reason? So some nonprofit, this is just for the nonprofits out there. Some of the nonprofits that I see that's missing out on grant funding, they're running their nonprofit organization like a solo entrepreneur. Okay, like a solopreneur. Well, in the small business sector or industry, running a solo entrepreneur business may be a very viable business model. I know this because I ran my own company for 6 successful years before I ever hired one consultant or one employee to help me. So I know that you can be successful as a small business owner, as a solopreneur. But when it comes to a nonprofit organization, things are a little bit different. Okay, you cannot run a nonprofit the same way that you run and operate a solo entrepreneur business. The reason is because the nonprofit is a public charity. And what does that mean? It means that no one owns a nonprofit organization because a nonprofit organization, once you apply to the IRS and receive 501c3 status, then your organization is able to take advantage of not having to pay income taxes. right? That is because your organization provides a service to the community, a charitable service to the community. And so the IRS allows your organization to receive tax deductible donations, and the organization is really owned by the public. Okay. It's owned by the public. And so what that means is that the public should be running and operating your nonprofit organization. How does that happen? Bullet point number 2, you should have board and partner participation. So a nonprofit organization should be run and operated by a board of directors, which includes at least 3 officers. Okay, 1, 2, 3 officers. Those officers should be a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. If a nonprofit organization does not have those 3 officers in place or a active participating board, then that's mistake number 2. Okay, because when you are applying for grant opportunities, they're going to ask about your board participation. Trust me, I know, because I review grants for a living. Okay, and so we look to see board participation with nonprofit organizations. So don't let this trip you up. Okay. Partner participation. We want to see grant reviewers. When I say we, the people that are reviewing and reading your grant applications, they want to see that you are partnering with other organizations and entities in the community. Even if you're a for-profit company and business, they want to see collaboration as well. That's helpful because that speaks to your ability to do marketing, branding, promotion, right? And those 3 things we know will help you to be able to get information out into the community about your products, your services, and to make sales, right? If you're a for-profit. And then the other mistake that I see with nonprofit organizations is that they have a lack of proven fundraising strategies. So I oftentimes will speak to people and they want to perhaps hire a grant writer. And I ask them, well, what is your budget to hire a grant writer? Guess what the budget is? 0. Right? If you're an organization that has a 0 budget to hire a grant writer, perhaps you need to be learning some of these skills that I'm going to be teaching you today, because that will help you to be able to figure out how can you begin to generate revenue so that you can begin to hire some of these other experts to assist you with your organization. And so one of the strategies to be able to bring in revenue into your organization, even before you get to the grant writing phase, is fundraising. So although this is a grant workshop, I want you guys to please, if you hear me, put fundraising, type fundraising in the chat, please, because if there is anything that I want you guys to walk away from this presentation knowing, is that your organization needs to have a multi-pronged approach for how you are funding and operating your organization. Okay. Has anybody heard the term multiple streams of income? If you have, put multiple in the chat. Have you heard of the phrase multiple streams of income? That's a question. That's a question. If you have, put multiple in the chat. Okay, thank you. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. And what does that mean to you guys? So typically, when I hear multiple streams of income, I am familiar with that terminology being being related to personal finances, right? So people say, oh, I believe in multiple streams of income. And what does that mean? That means that Perhaps you have income from a job, maybe you have income from a business, maybe you have income from investments like stocks and bonds. Maybe you have retirement accounts, right? Like an IRA or something like that, maybe deferred compensation that you have saved up for a retirement plan. But when it comes to nonprofit organizations and even your small business, you need to be looking at a holistic approach to fund the operation of that nonprofit or small business. You need multiple streams of income, okay? And fundraising is just one stream for your nonprofit organization. Okay, so what happens if your organization continues to make these type of mistakes? Guess what will happen? This is what I have heard from people that I have spoken to over the past several years that I have run my company. Either your organization will run out of money, right? Because you're trying to self-fund the mission of the nonprofit organization, or even your small business. If you're not making enough sales and you're not generating enough revenue, guess what? Eventually you may run out of money, right? Um, you may run out of the network that you have access to. So if you are not finding an approach to be able to partner with other entities or organizations, or bring other people in that can help you with marketing, promotion, branding, and you have a strategy for getting the message out, then if you're only talking to your close friends, your relatives, eventually you may run out of that network, right, that you have access to. So you need to be able to broaden your network. You may run out of resources, and then with the nonprofit or even the small business, it may go dormant. Okay, so I want to help you guys to avoid these type of mistakes. And so I have several strategies that are going to help you guys with that. And so I just want to share some quick testimonials from organizations that I have worked with. So Solutions of Change is one of my clients. They've been my client since 2019. And when I met the founder of this organization, the organization told me that they had worked with an attorney to help them to set up their nonprofit organization. And so I said, well, can you send me the paperwork so that I can review it? And comes to find out, you guys, that attorney had not totally completed all of the paperwork that was required for this organization to be a nonprofit 501c3. They had completed the state paperwork, but they had not completed the federal paperwork with the IRS. And so that's just one way that Grant Me Success helps clients, is we help you to be able to do an audit of your paperwork and your documentation to make sure that you have things in place in order to qualify for grants. Because this organization was very interested in applying for grants to be able to provide mental and behavioral health services, but they couldn't do that if they didn't have the proper documentation in place. So we were able to apply to the IRS and get their 501c3. It took us about 90 days to do that, which was really quick, because I've seen on the IRS's website that it could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months to be able to get that approved. We were able to do it in 90 days. And then remember, I told you guys that I started working with this client in 2019, right? It was October of 2019. We got the 501c3. I think it was around like December or something like that. And then what happened in January and February? The pandemic, right? And so we were able to help this organization to begin to apply for many grants. And I've worked with them now for about 4 years, 4 going on 5 years now, because we're in 2025 now. And I've helped this organization to be able to get access to over $3 million in grants. Okay. And so that's just one example of a client that we've been able to help with the strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Okay. So let's get all on the same page about grant writing basics. So what are grants? What are grants? And if you guys are still with me, put grants in the chat. Put grants in the chat for me because I can't see everybody's faces, but I want to make sure that you guys are following along. All right, I see some grants popping up in the chat. So grants are a sum of money awarded to finance a particular activity, service, or facility. Okay, that's what a grant is. Now, people often ask, I've had some people ask, not real often, but often enough, can this grant help pay my car note? Can a grant help me pay my rent or my mortgage? Can a grant help me pay for healthcare, outstanding healthcare bills, personal expenses? Yes, there are grants out there that can do that. Okay, typically you apply through some very specialized health and human service organizations. That's just not the realm and the type of grants that we're talking about today. Okay, we're not talking about those types of grants for personal finances. We're talking about grants that are given to nonprofit organizations for their operations, and maybe even to help people with rental assistance. Okay, maybe those grants might help individuals with scholarships and or funding to go back to school to further their education. But we're not looking today at grants, and this presentation is not about grants given to individuals. Okay, except there are some specialized grants that are in the arts, in the performing and visual arts, that are given to individual artists. Okay, if you guys are individual artists or you know someone who's an artist who's working in that type of performance space or visual arts or performing arts, follow up with us by email, and we can talk to you about that. All right. Otherwise, we're talking about grants that are given to organizations, entities, either nonprofit or for-profit businesses, small businesses, for a particular activity, service, or facility. Now, generally, grants do not have to be paid back. However, if an agency or facility does not spend the total amount of the award on approved activities or services, then that organization may be required to send back unspent funds. Okay. Now, you guys may wonder, like, how does that happen? Right? Well, many grants, you guys may not know this, and so I'm sharing it now. Many grants are reimbursement grants. Now, what do I mean by that? Most people think that when you get a grant, let's say it's a $10,000 grant, that the funder just writes you a $10,000 check, or that they just deposit $10,000 in your entity's bank account. Okay. And I said entity's bank account on purpose, not your personal bank account. Remember, we are not talking about grants for you individually as an individual person. We are talking about grants for entities. So that means that your small business needs to have a small business bank account. Your nonprofit needs to have a business-related bank account for your nonprofit, okay? Because most grants do not go to the individual, it goes to the entity, okay? So many grants are paid out just in one lump sum. However, there are also what's called a reimbursement grant. And what that means is that you provide the services first, you conduct the activities first, or you start construction on a facility, or you rent the facility first, and then you ask for reimbursement of your expenses to the grant funder after you've spent the money. Okay? So whenever you're applying for a grant, you need to know if that is a grant that is being just paid out or if it is a reimbursement grant. Okay? If you guys have questions on that, we'll come to save your questions to the end of the presentation and let me know if you have questions on that. Okay? Oops. All right. So why do funders make or fund and give away grants? What would be their motivation? Okay. Funders are driven by a deep conviction to solve a social problem and help others, possibly. Um, Grants also provide a valuable resource to carry out projects and provide services that might not otherwise happen. And so funders may be very interested in providing a service in the community. They believe that this service should be offered in the community, but they don't actually want to do the work because they are not the experts in that field. Okay. So they would prefer to give money for that issue to be addressed. Or they want to be able to help you as an entrepreneur, your business, to be able to provide that product and or service, and they're just interested in funding other small businesses. They don't want to actually have that business on their own, right? And so they fund other organizations that are conducting the work. Also, the United States federal tax code gives an incentive for organizations to give to charitable causes. Okay, and so there's many different reasons why entities and funders may want to give grants.